29, 28, 27, 26, 25, 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What do you got to eat? Here, guys. Ooh. What's this say? I don't know. What's that say? I know, but I'm not gonna tell. I think it says it's good.
Conjecture Hoops contains all the presumptions, assumptions, and off-the-wall postulations a growing kid needs. Conjecture Hoops, a big bowl of bullshit. Saturday morning cartoons,
Now at night time.
mostly conjecture based on little knowledge.
Please welcome Max Headshrew, Dell, Aria Blackness, and your most gracious host, Ben motherfucking Jackson. Applause. Applause. Applause.
Whoa!
Hello. We're gonna raise a little hell today. I see what you did there.
Yeah, it's very clever.
So, we just watched the well, I saw it for the first time. The new Hellraiser.
You guys have seen the new one?
I hadn't
Yeah.
seen the new one.
No, I haven't seen it. I haven't,
Oh, you haven't seen it?
Are you alright
No.
were you alright for spoilers?
yeah, I don't. I'm probably not going to end up seeing it until years after the fact. That's generally what I do. Like, I still haven't watched episode 1 of Game of Thrones yet, so I'm behind on that one too.
That's okay. Ben hasn't seen Hellraiser 2, the original Hellraiser 2, which you've just watched today, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. And Buddha, have you seen the new Hellraiser?
I have, yes.
And I know you've seen Hellraiser 2, haven't you?
Yes. The new Hellraiser is better.
I don't think
Hellraiser
it's
2.
much.
Yeah.
The
Hellraiser 2 has its fans. I'm not one of them, you know. I admire its intention over its execution.
Sounds like you
Right.
didn't like it either, Aria.
It starts off all right, but the problem, there was like serious issues with the production, from what I can understand, and a lot of things got changed halfway through, and a lot of the ideas they wanted to go for didn't come to fruition because of massive budget cuts, and some of the actors didn't want to be involved in some of the ideas that they had as well.
They wanted
Yeah, I
to
heard
get
the same stories.
the dad back from the first one. That was Kirsty's whole impetus for going back to hell.
Yeah,
Was to find her dad, but then the actor didn't want to do it. So it makes the entire story of the second one pointless.
Yeah,
There's no reason for her to go to hell.
yeah, but he didn't want to do it because there was no reason for his character to be in hell, because Kirsty's dad didn't do anything wrong.
yeah. He was the innocent guy in the first one who got
Right, yeah.
knocked
So
over by
if the impetus is that we all just fucking go to hell, then what's the point in the box?
Right.
Yeah.
But there are,
Yeah.
I like there's some scenes in it that I like. So it opens up in a psychiatric ward, and there's a character in it who runs the ward who's similar to a character in the new Hellraiser, who's like the main bad guy in the new Hellraiser. It's somebody that's got the box and is obsessed with the box, but he knows he's studied it, and he's got artifacts from it, right? and there's a scene where he wants to test out to see if any of this is true. And he has a mattress, the mattress that Kirsty's stepmom dies on in the first film.
Julia.
Julia, that's it. He gets a schizophrenic patient who is convinced that he's got bugs and maggots all over his body.
Yeah.
Sits him on the mattress and gives him a razor blade. And of course, the guy goes to town on himself trying to get rid of all these bugs. And in doing so, he spills his blood on the mattress. Of course, we all know if you spill blood on an area where someone's been taken by the box, they sort of come back as like a putrid, skinless version of themselves. And Julia comes out the mattress and sort of claims this guy and sort of sucks the life out of him.
Sucks all the blood out. Yeah.
Right. But and then the doctor sort of falls in love with this skinless woman, and she manipulates him the same way Frank manipulated her in the first one, and that I liked.
There's a scene in the movie where it's a kissing scene with said skinless lady, and I couldn't watch it. Something about that. It's so repulsive. I couldn't watch.
Was it more gross
sexually...
than the scene in The Shining?
Than the old woman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. Because
Okay.
he's sexually attracted to this this woman with no skin on, you know. Whereas at least Jack Nicholson is repulsed by the old woman.
I'm into Julia with no skin. She listen.
Go on, explain yourself.
It's played by like so Frank and Julia when they've got no skin. They're played by two different people, and they're both.
Oh, I see.
They're both
models, aren't they?
Yeah. Because if you look when she comes out the mattress, her ass is way better than Julia's ass. Right? It's like you can tell that she works. That I'm into it. Like obviously, in real life, I wouldn't do anything. But like knowing that it's a woman in a suit, I'm into.
Yeah, that lady's skin optional.
But the scene in The Shining, I found more disturbing. That old woman coming out of the bath.
Right, because you wouldn't do the actress.
But
that's the scariest scene.
Yeah.
Shining. Yeah.
What did you hate the most about it, Aria?
It is just the movie. Like I hear the same stories how there was like budget cuts and like the studio backing out, lost faith in the project. But it is just a series of events. Things just happen. What's the girl's name? The main character. She at one point she's Kirsty. She's just looking at Julia, screaming, and then the next she's falling off the edge of the labyrinth. Right. And I was just thinking. Nothing happened between these scenes were back to back.
Right.
Nothing happened. She was just screaming at Julia, and the next thing she was clinging on for dear life. It's just a series of events with fuck all tying them together.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's no impetus for the plot because she's got no reason to be in hell.
Yeah.
So there's no forward momentum for the story.
Yeah, and she just sort of runs into the Cenobites, right? They're not caught by the box. She just accidentally bumps into Pinhead, and then she happens to have the photo. So because Ben's not seeing it.
Sorry.
What the fuck?
So what? She goes to hell, but then
I can't remember how, but basically Kirsty comes into possession of a photo of what Pinhead. Looked like before he became Pinhead, and he was like wasn't he a legionnaire or a soldier or something?
Yeah, he's a World War I
soldier. And when she bumps into the Cenobites, they're like, "Look, we now you're here. We're going to take." Which I think this is a good scene that they basically go, "Look, you're here now, and now we're going to take you. It's no more deals, no more bullshit. We're going to have you." And she tries to sell him like more bullshit, and she just so happens to have this photo, and she said she convinces Pinhead, even though the others are doubting it, that he used to be human, and she gives him the photo, and he sort of looks at it for a while, and then
remembers or something.
He says he remembers, and then at that point, another Cenobite who's just been created, who's pursuing Kirsty, enters the fray, and then it's a fight between these Cenobites.
Well, it's a fight, very loose terms there.
Right, but you gotta. I mean, he fucks them all up, doesn't he? He fucks them all up, right? But the scene leading up to them just getting fucked up is good, and the concept for the Cenobite fight, up until the point that actually one of the Cenobites goes, a fight that is excellent, and then when they all step forward when he says it, but then it's kind of it goes off a cliff. Then it's not, the fight itself is not great, but it's got a lot of potential, that film, and it just none of it really comes to.
It definitely has potential. I think I made the point in my 3-part review, which is still up on my channel. I'm going to check it out. When I looked at the second film, I made the point that the intention with the second Hellraiser was, I think, to do what they did with Aliens. So if the first film is the little low-budget sleeper hit horror movie that's all about tone and scares, the second film was to essentially take the first movie but go epic with it. So in that they send the characters to hell. You see what's only alluded to in the first film. I think it's just one corridor shot, which is meant to represent hell or purgatory. In the second film, we go to hell, and it's this epic vista. And every crazy idea in the book is thrown into the film. We see Pinhead in his human form as he used to be. We get his backstory. We have the Cenobites return to human form in the end. We have characters being turned into Cenobites. Julia, she's the wicked stepmother in the first film. She returns. She's the queen of hell. And that was the intention for any subsequent installments was for Julia to keep coming back and essentially be the main villain of the franchise over Pinhead. So the intention there, I admire the intention, and I do think it's, if you look at the first and second film back to back, I do think they make quite a good story. The sort of story that Clive Barker maybe tells in one novel, one of his 700-page novels. But sadly, the execution just wasn't there. Maybe if he'd directed it himself, but he got his mates to write and direct the second one.
Right, so one of the in fact, me and Ben were talking about this quite a lot when we were watching. We were just watching the new Hellraiser. Is that one of the things I think works about the first Hellraiser and horror in general is the more personalized the story, the more frightening I find it. Right, and this new Hellraiser is basically Hellraiser concepts from the first and the second one sort of sewn together.
Does the new one expand on the idea of Leviathan and all that? Does it even include it?
Yeah. Leviathan's in it. Yeah,
Leviathan's in it,
and it changes the lore of the box as well.
Right.
Which
so in the new one, there's like all these different configurations that you can get from the box, and like one of those configurations is Leviathan, which is basically just like summoning Leviathan like you would a demon or something.
Yeah, and you can ask it for things.
Like
I like how they treated the box in this new one. It's like for the first time it actually felt like a genuine puzzle. It's like they've done a redesign on the box, and it looked like they'd actually thought through. Okay, if we turn this bit here and turn that round there. Yeah. Whereas if you watch the previous films, they just kind of stroke. It's like a square box. They just stroke a bit.
You stroke the bit.
Yeah.
Whenever it
In the
cuts
new
in,
film, it grows into different shapes and clicks
Yeah.
and back and
The old
forth.
version was kind of like a lamp with a genie in it. You just like rub it.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. I really like the scene, especially in the first one, where at the very beginning Frank opens the box, gets dismembered, then you sort of see them walking around the bedroom where he opened the box, where they're torturing him, like an alternate version of the bedroom. And then once they're finished with him, you sort of see Pinhead pick up the box, like dead delicately, stroke the top so it goes back to normal, and then they disappear. And I really like that, the action of him just doing that on the top of it, like instead of like trying to force it into different shapes.
It looks iconic. I like that they did something new in the new film.
Yeah, I prefer. I don't like that they expanded the lore of the box to make it easier to write in loopholes of how to get out of being fucked over by the Cenobites.
What's some of the loopholes then?
Well, so this time, there's 6 configurations, right? And you have to do all 6 to get to an audience with Leviathan. But every time you get through one of them, a blade comes out of the box, right, and stabs you. And if the blade stabs you, the Cenobites come and get you, right? But if you know the order and you can just do it, and the blade comes out, it doesn't stab you, I could just stick it in someone else, and then they will come for them. And that's what like the mate. There's like a rich guy who wants to get an audience with Leviathan, so he gets other people to open the box for him until he gets to the Leviathan configuration, and then he gets his wish, right?
Right.
And I didn't like that because the whole premise of Hellraiser for me is that people get the box because it gives you all these different choices as well of the things that you can ask from the box. But in the original, it's just you do it because you're at the edge of what's the word I'm looking for? Desire and feeling, right? You're trying to break boundaries. So that's it. You just open the box.
Pain and pleasure indivisible.
Yeah. What is it? What's the choice? What does he choose in the new film when he gets that thing in him? Sensation. So in the original, everyone's after sensation. They're after, but they don't. The cool thing about it is, you think you know what sensation is, but you know fuck all about sensation until the Cenobites turn up, because they've pushed it so far that pain and pleasure have become intertwined with each other. And once you're in it, and there's really no way out. And there's 2 ways out, right? There's you either get tortured by them, and then someone happens to spill blood on the area where you've been sort of destroyed, and then there's this horrendous form of resurrection, or to an even lesser extent, if you've got you might be able to talk them out of it if you can offer them someone else that interests them in some way, maybe, right? And that is enough. But now you can stab different people. You can get stabbed and then still go, and then someone else gets stabbed, and then you can still talk. Like, there's so many people that get eyed up for the box by the Cenobites, and they're either talked out of it or misdirected, or at one point, right? An actual Cenobite gets stabbed, and it gets ripped apart.
And it's like this funny loophole. I think Matt said the word loophole already. That's the right word, because it's like, oh well, if the Cenobite gets stabbed by it, then the Cenobite gets killed by Cenobites, and it's like, what? Like,
too much. Then
they're not animals that are following some instinct. Like, Cenobites can decide what to do, right?
Yeah, because there's this really interesting bit in the second movie where because the doctor gets this girl who's like fascinated with puzzles. She's the one who solves the puzzle for him.
Oh, the
Cenobites appear to her but Pinhead stops them from getting her because he says they follow desire, not whoever is the one who opens the box.
Right.
So they go past her and go for the doctor then.
Right.
So that's total opposite of what you're saying the new one is then.
Yeah. It's the intent of what you think you're looking for, right? And they want to show you that what you think you're looking for, like they're there to blow your fucking mind.
Yeah.
They think they want it, but they don't want it.
Right. You think you want it, but you don't want it. They'll make you want it over eternity, right? They'll acclimatize your tastes to theirs. That's what I felt like it was about.
That's absolutely what it was about, and that's very clear in the original movie, and it's explicit in the book, in the story.
Right.
So
I feel like it's too. I feel like I couldn't say this. I feel like it's too intelligent a subject for anyone to ever get right after the first one. Every time they do another version of Hellraiser, it's just.
The concept of it is so brilliant. Like it's gothy, and I absolutely love it. But like the movies, like I've only seen 1 and 2, and they just don't scratch the surface of like the rabbit holes that those ideas can lead you down. And
but I like that. I that's what I like.
Yeah.
I think I'm far beyond now, and it's been proved. I feel like, to me anyway, and everyone's different in their taste, but I feel like all right, Dave. I feel like it's just been proven to me now that not knowing is better than knowing. Like seeing the surface and seeing that these great concepts, the tip the heads of them. I don't need to go down this rabbit hole and know everything about Pinhead. I would rather ask the question and go, I wonder who Pinhead used to be. Just find out a bit of information.
Your imagination fills in the rest.
But that's because you don't even want to see Darth Vader without his mask.
I don't give a fuck about Darth Vader bit without his mask.
But see, I'm with Arya on this. Like when there's a cool premise, I like to think about it and like come up with all kinds of different directions. Right. But also, like Arya, I'm disappointed both with the Star Wars expanded universe and with the Hellraiser expanded universe. I think they both kind of, I don't know, the people involved in coming, like the story of this new Hellraiser. I mean, I don't want to talk shit about the movie because it's really well made.
There's some good elements to it,
and there's some cool stuff in it.
Yeah,
but like I do have that criticism, like Arya was saying. Like there's so much that you come up with of what this box could be, and then by just turning it into a slasher film instead, you're kind of not making the movie I wanted to watch.
Right, and that's you can see that's what they did. Like as the film opens, it opens more like a Michael Myers film or a Friday the 13th film than it does a Hellraiser movie.
Exactly,
and we see all the young people, and they're all part of a friend group, and each one, the bigger the part, the later on they're going to die, and they're all being set up to be massacred. And that's not how I see Hellraiser in comparison to sort of Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th and Halloween.
There's other installments of the franchise, though, that have done the same thing way, way worse.
Right, I totally agree.
The third film is a Freddy Krueger movie.
Right,
it's a Nightmare on Elm Street movie. It's not a Hellraiser movie.
No,
they gave him the one-liners.
Yeah,
it's like the studio. It was the first. It was the first installment that was made in the US, and they said, okay, try and make it more like a Nightmare on Elm Street. It's so obvious, and it takes away all of Pinhead's elegance.
Pinhead takes Manhattan, basically.
Yeah, and have you seen the one with Henry Cavill in?
No, I haven't.
With Henry Cavill?
Yeah, it's like Hellraiser 8. Obviously pre-Superman, but oh god, it's basically just a Saw movie with I think it's not even like Pinhead. It's basically a Saw movie, and then every now and again Pinhead turns up, does something completely ineffectual that doesn't even infringe on the plot at all, and then goes away.
Right.
It's such a poor, bad film.
Weren't they all
so-
like after number 3 or number 4? They're all like scripts that the production company had that they'd altered
Yeah.
to be Hellraiser movies so they could keep the license.
Oh no!
And they
Yeah,
were in
awful.
large parts rip-offs of other films as well.
You
So
should never do that.
have you ever seen that film Jacob's Ladder?
Sure, yeah.
With Tim Robbins. I think like 4, 5, 6, and 7 are basically just all a rip-off of Jacob's Ladder. It's what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Oh, the character's in hell.
It's
That's
bizarre.
the twist every time.
Maybe it's because of the loss of Clive Barker. I mean, even the subtext, like the original, such a like dense movie. Like there's like a whole subtext of Kirsty, like the Kirsty's trauma from being molested by Uncle Frank, right? Running.
I think so.
Throughout the film,
Yeah.
oh yeah, 100%. Like every time you see the red rose open up, and then you hear the baby cry, and then blood coming down, and then you hear "Come to Daddy," like 100%. Like the rose represents her virginity. And
I kind of
blood represents.
I kind of thought it was her dad that.
No, it was Frank. It was Uncle
It's
Frank.
the uncle. Because they bring it back in the second movie, but it's more of it just becomes a cheesy catchphrase by then.
Yeah.
Pops the night open and goes,
"Come to Daddy." Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, and it's never ever said, but like it's you know.
Yeah,
So
but she knows he's a bad one.
Yeah.
When they meet for the first time in the film, it's straight away. It's oh my god, it's not Uncle Frank. What's happened to you? It's get away from me. You know.
Yeah.
They hate each other straight away.
Yeah.
To ask you the question why.
Right. I see.
He's a piece of shit, and he tries to fuck everything.
Yeah. I say that line to my wife though a lot.
You can't just
come to Daddy.
You can't just fuck everything.
Say that in the mirror. The performance of the dad in the first one, where he's playing Frank, playing him, is great.
He's really good. He's a really great actor. He was the villain in the first Dirty Harry film.
Right.
If you old guys have seen that.
Yeah, I've seen that. It's fucking great.
Yeah, no, you young guys haven't seen
Yeah,
it.
it's basically Judge Dredd, mate. Just with a magnum.
What,
yeah,
Dirty Harry? Of course I've seen Dirty Harry,
yeah. But yeah, it's the more focused around the Cenobites, this one. And I like the choice for Pinhead. I think she did a really good job.
I really liked the portrayal of the Cenobites in this one. They felt scary.
Right.
I think possibly the scariest they've ever been. For me, you know, I got this. I got the shivers every time they turned up. I have this thing in horror. One of the things I find really scary is being in a room and something that shouldn't be there turning up. I think that's one of the scariest things you can show in film.
Oh, when being
at the end of a corridor. Or being at the end of a corridor and something's coming towards you and there's no escape. I find that kind of stuff really scary.
Right.
So they did that a lot with the Cenobites in this.
Right. They did. But I felt like they neutered them a bit by these rules neutered them a bit because it made them more physical. I felt like in the first one, they're like this. They don't move very much, but you know, like they're like this unstoppable force. They could just know what you throw at Pinhead. Like you're not going to take Pinhead on him. Like you can unload a fucking gun into him, nothing's going to happen. But like, so there's a scene in it where the Asphyx, the one that's like got his face covered and he's got his lungs wrapped around his face.
Yeah.
Do you remember that one? And he's kind of like that. He walks really slow and he can't see, but then he like breaks out of it and starts running after him, like a fucking like a zombie or something. and then it gets trapped in a door. I was like, that's not. I don't feel like that's not like a Cenobite.
Yeah,
That's like a monster, like something else, and that really
Yeah,
took me out of it. Like,
I'll agree
Like
with
a
you there.
zombie.
When,
Like a
yeah, doesn't one get trapped? Are you talking about the same?
Yeah.
the same scene. He gets trapped in
yeah,
the
he
game.
like runs after
Yeah.
him like it's fucking. It was stupid.
Yeah, I had a problem with that. I think you shouldn't be able to. They shouldn't be able to react with the real world elements.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I think I'm just saying the same thing that you just said.
But like just the action.
You shouldn't be able to take them down with a crowbar or something.
Yeah, but
but you added something to it because you're reminding us that they're like supposed to be on a different operational level of reality, right? Like not just interacting like an animal.
Yeah.
But like the movement of it as well, like I just the chasing. It was like chasing her like the boogeyman, and I was like, I feel like a Cenobite wouldn't do that. It would be just like Pinhead sort of just stands there like that, like very calm, and then he'd just be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the original, they can like just sort of appear like where they're needed, right? And also make like chains come through the walls and stuff. So not physical creatures. So.
Oh, well, they do that at the start, and then this part kind of breaks that away, because basically as soon as you introduce as soon as they introduced the idea that you could stab a Cenobite, it was like you just made it open season for them to be affected physically by anything else in the real world.
Yeah.
And then so anything after that, you were like, I feel like they're like less threat. I feel like if I had a Magnum, I could just blow one of their heads off.
Exactly.
Because the fucking door stopped one. A knife basically kills them.
Suddenly they're not scary anymore. I think what happens. I think what happens is like I think Buddha was saying like the comparisons between Alien 2, that there's that same kind of the evolution of the monster's power when you multiply it, right?
Sure, yeah.
Because like when the first movie, I know there's more. I think there's more than one Cenobite, but it's basically just about Pinhead, right?
4 of them, but you don't really.
Yeah, exactly. They don't really do much. The others, so it's all about Pinhead. But like in this new movie, there's like tons of Cenobites, and so that just makes them each one less dangerous because you could kill one, and then there's still plenty more to deal with.
Right.
So that just kind of lowers the danger factor for each one, and that happens in all kinds of movies and TV shows. But I think Aliens is probably the best example.
Sure.
Well, they don't. It's not. I didn't compare it to Aliens in that they increased the amount of Cenobites in the second one. It was
like expand on
it was the setting really. They went, I don't want to say more epic because you chastised me last week for using the word epic, but but the second film I think does feel more epic than the first one.
Every shot of them in hell I thought was pretty cool. I did like that.
Yeah.
And I liked the cheap effect of Leviathan when the dark light comes over them and they turn all negative.
Yeah.
The dark light, a very Clive Barker idea.
Yeah, but I liked it. It was cool.
Black light.
Yeah.
It's a very sort of Escher design to hell as well.
Cool.
Yeah, right. All the elements were there in the new one. They were just all sort of in the. So here's another thing, right? That I think is essential to a Hellraiser film, is the use of sex, right? Now, sex in the first one is like it's integral to the story because it's based around an affair, right?
Right.
And then everyone touched on a lot the abuse between the potential abuse between Frank and the young girl. Well,
and Larry, I think.
And you think the dad as well?
I think the dad as well.
Larry. I don't know. Ooh.
No, she loves it, Larry. Kirsty.
Yes, love it, Dad.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I'll have to watch the first movie.
Unless it was consensual.
Well, see, that's what I
wish I had a dad like that.
That's my theory, and I've got a whole essay about it. that I'll do something with on YouTube at some point. I think with
Yeah, do it.
I think with Professor Chad, I'm going to do it. The new character I'm working on, and I think that the dad molested her too, and that was like the gateway that like kind of opened the gates for everything, for Frank to molest her, and then for everything else to happen that happened. And I think that that it was consensual with her father, and
Fucking hell.
and that she's conflicted about it. I don't know. I read all that into it the first time I watched it a year ago.
No. I'm interested in hearing it.
I could be wrong, but it's worth arguing.
It's all open to interpretation, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is a Barker story.
And they try and use like the sexual thing in this new one. Like they open up with a sex scene, but it's just got no place. It's just a sex scene that's got no link to the storyline. Like there's a hint later on that she sort of uses it to feel better when her brother goes missing, but it doesn't. It's not integral like. Are
you talking about the new movie?
Yeah, it's
I didn't like that at all.
It was the elements there, but it's like they just don't know where to put it.
It doesn't make sense, and they even said that it was just like a vice, because she's like, they have this like really heavy-handed expositional dialogue where the brother's like, you're a drug addict, and she's like, I'm a drug addict. Like everything they want the audience to know, they just ham-fisted into the conversation, which is annoying.
Yeah.
But also more annoying still is then she says like, oh, you won't let me do drugs anymore. Then now you're complaining that I'm having sex too loud with my boyfriend. Like, so sex for her is just like, you could replace it with any other vice, like drugs, alcohol, sex. Like,
but the problem with the main character, or the writing of the main character being a drug addict or a sex addict or anything like that, is that it had no fucking bearing on the story, because it didn't. She wasn't searching for like to break another barrier of pleasure, because she'd gone through or to feel better about like her addiction in some way by opening the like, she came upon the box completely by mistake. So all of the shit that she'd been through and the addiction that she had was irrelevant.
Exactly.
It didn't play into the sensational thing of the Cenobites coming together. There's something there to write that you could write about, like an alcoholic or a drug addict that finds the box, either makes the mistake or tries to push something further and ends up faced with the Cenobites. I'm sure there's something there. I feel like there's definitely something there.
Surely that's been done.
No, the thing is that. But the thing is,
it's going to have been done in one in the comics or one of the films.
But it's just annoying. It's just annoying that there's like all this sex and drugs and excess, just because they're like, oh, these are elements that are meant to go with like the setting of a Hellraiser movie, but not because of how they would interplay with the actual artifacts, right? So
Frank, like the sex in the first one, Frank, Julia used, to entice all these guys into fuck, and then Frank would kill him, and then he'd promise that once he got skin, he'd be able to fuck her, and like they used to, and like it's all there.
There's
a reason for it happening, yeah.
Right, yeah.
It's a difficult one to navigate, I think, because Clive Barker's style, he's one of these artists who is sort of a master of what he does, but it's a very OTT style he has.
Right.
And when you hand it to anyone else and they try and ape his style, it can more often than not end up looking silly. And that can go for the sex or the gore in it. The gore handled in the wrong hands can look over the top and silly and really out of place. And the same can with the sex. It not handled with somebody like a maestro like Barker. It can look sort of like a soap opera or
I
cheap
agree,
romance
but
novel.
I feel like you
feel
start
the
with
same way.
the main elements, and then you just start to swap out or play with the relationship elements that are played with. So okay, so Frank and so the main sort of thesis of the first one was Frank had come back to hell, and he was begging Julia, like manipulating Julia to do these awful things for him, to kill, so he could become whole again, right?
Right.
So if I was doing, I would probably start with that as the core, and then go right. What could I do with these two relationships to like give it a new spin, right? Uh, how could we do it? So how about a parent like the in the Frank role, you have a young child, and then and in the Julia role, you have a parent, so a father and his young son or kid. Like, how would you react if like your child, like let's say your child got accidentally taken by the box, right? And then you know how to bring him back, and
Right.
then like
Mm.
then you're put in a position where you've got a skinless child in the attic, and you've got to go out and kill to
To
make
heal
the
your
kid.
child, yeah.
Right. What?
Yeah.
Where does that go? And then you've got Pinhead on your back. Like, straight away, you got. So you just have to play with those things. Now,
Yeah, and the motivation there.
right. Now, it's not wholly original, but like it's a sequel, and
Yeah.
I often think unless you've got like a fucking killer idea that you're like, you always know when you have like concepts, and like some of them are a bit rocky, some of them have got potential, but sometimes you think of one and go, that I can't believe that no one's not thought of that yet. Right. Most of the time someone already has, right? Like Aliens is one. Like, how can that not, like, the perfect sequel? Terminator 2, perfect sequel. But they're the ones that expand on the lore that are good. A few are less than the ones that just take the same elements and jostle with those same elements and try and stick with what was before, if that makes sense. But that's what I would do. I would just make an if I was going to do a remake, I would make an equivalent story, keep it personal, and just have a different family dynamic, I think. Because the first one was about broken family, really, wasn't it?
Right, it was.
Yeah.
And like I think most people can relate to that, because no one's got a perfect family. Like, there's some kind of issue in everyone's family, right? And you just play on those. What would obviously that having a little kid, like, totally is probably the reason why that would pop into my head now is because I've just had a little kid, right?
Right.
Like
Exactly.
5 years ago, it'd be a completely different idea.
But like, I think the big failure of this remake movie was that the main character isn't going through some real like struggle to do with sex and drugs and all these things. They're just sort of shoehorned in as to make the environment seem like the right one. So I would have probably preferred a movie, because like, yes, Frank's a bad guy, right? But he's still the protagonist. Well, no, I guess Kirsty's the protagonist, right? But his whole thing is like, his whole like weird sex obsession is what brings the Cenobites in the first place.
Right.
So if we're gonna have Cenobites coming into the world, we need some kind of freak like Frank to come to be looking for them, right? Like
Right.
that's supposed to be the whole interplay between the person and the box. So to just have the box be this sort of MacGuffin that you try to poke other people with, I don't know, that didn't work for me.
Yeah, I wasn't. I didn't like that.
Have you read the books, Ben?
What's that, Aria?
Have you read the books?
I read the first story. Yeah, what's it called?
How do these
the Hellbound?
how do the screen adaptations then stack up against the book?
Well,
what happens at the end? What happens at the end of the Hellbound Heart? I haven't read it for so long.
Let me try to remember. I think it's just like he's taken away to become a Cenobite. I think.
We'll have to read it again.
I'm pretty sure that's what happens, because there's no. There's no sequel meant to happen from the story.
I know. I remember there being much more wanking in the Hellbound Heart than there is in the
Yeah.
Hellraiser film. It's like, oh yeah, he felt searing pain, so he had a wank.
Well, yeah, I mean because you know what?
What else did you do, right?
Well, I feel like
Frank's
the
always
movie
wanking.
really downplayed the sexual.
He's a sex addict.
Yeah, because it's supposed to. Because like the torture of the Cenobites is supposed to be like the ironic culmination of sex addiction. You know, like you get to a point where you're so weird and freaky that you can only that you like nothing really does it for you except for like extreme pain. Like torture is extreme pain. So like that's the sort of implication of the whole ethos from the story. Yeah, that was the way it seemed to me. I feel like the
Based on
movie
it.
started to go in a different direction with that. You know what I mean?
The full Hellbound Heart unabridged free audiobook is on your YouTube,
Oh, sick!
and
It's
it's
read by Clive Barker himself, I think.
is
Wow.
it?
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
It's only 2 hours.
Yeah,
Well,
So if you wanna
he
find
sounds
out-
awesome. He's not a great narrator.
I
He's,
got it
he's
right.
fine. Yeah, he's fine, but he's not great. He's not an actor.
Okay.
Put it that way. I've been listening to the Scarlet Gospels.
Yes, I've read the Scarlet Gospels.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh man alive.
It's bizarre, right?
It's just unrelenting.
It's
it kind of
Constantine meets Lord of the Rings in hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it? I'm googling it right now.
So
It's-
it's the only Barker penned Hellraiser thing other than the Hellbound Heart. It's essentially it's the first time he's written about the character since the Hellbound Heart. I think it was published in 2015.
Yeah, that's what's telling me about that. That's something I definitely need to
Yeah,
read.
it's like it's got wizards in it, pinheads in it, hell's in it, the actual devil is in it.
It's set in a city in hell.
Yeah.
It sounds like
Pandemonium.
something I would really enjoy reading.
Yeah, I think you'd like it. It's crazy. I'd really love to see some form of film or animation based on it. Maybe an animation would be great, but it's just fucking crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. I found it fairly unrelenting. I must admit. I mean, it's like it's every line is just, and his flesh was pierced, and the pussing ooze secreted down his body, all the way down his chest to his dick and balls.
Yeah.
It's like literally every single. I'm not kidding. Like every single line of the novel is like that.
Well,
and you think about Crowbar, as many references to this
in as well that because like Barker doesn't like the name Pinhead, does he? Like he likes the priest,
the Hell Priest, right?
The Hell Priest, yeah, and Pinhead.
He refers to that over and over again.
Yeah, Pinhead in the Scarlet Gospels really hates it when people call him Pinhead. It really pisses him off. But yeah, it's the priest in the new film, right? In the credits, it's the priest.
Right. Yeah.
That's how they got it right. Which the priest is a better name than Pinhead, right?
Mm. Well, Pinhead is. I think it's the end of the second film. Kirsty says, "Go to hell, Pinhead," and it's meant to be just a jibe, but somehow that became the character's name.
Yeah.
I feel like, I never considered it his name, but I think it's sort of like the moniker that humans use to refer to him.
Yeah.
Because I have a little bit of a different concept because like you know how angels have names?
Sure.
Well, angels don't really have names because they don't need names because they don't have bodies. They don't make sounds. So when a human being asks an angel, "Who are you?" and he's like, "Oh, I'm a messenger from God," and he's like, "Got it. Your name is messenger from God," because their names literally mean these things. So
Right.
they don't actually have names. Is what I'm getting at, and neither does Pinhead. Like that's not his name, but that's what they call him to differentiate him
Yeah.
from the other ones. To like,
Mhm.
it's the human signifier for him. It's not really his name.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I mean, he's an odd one, Pinhead. He became an 80s horror icon to rank alongside Jason Voorhees and Freddy Krueger, Michael Myers, Chucky. So he needed that moniker, he needed an instantly identifiable name,
Right.
moniker to single him out.
And
Because he was never intended to be the figurehead of the franchise.
It's supposed to be Junior, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
In the first film, when they made the first film, he was just one of the supporting characters.
Yeah.
And when they showed it to the test audiences went wild for this character. They said, "Wow, who is that? We love that character." They didn't even realize when they were making the film, it was that
Interesting.
this character would take off.
Interesting facts about that. Doug Bradley almost didn't play Pinhead because he thought it might be a bit silly. So he asked if he could be swapped, if he could swap his part with one of the guys that's pushing the mattress up the stairs.
Wow.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the film, and they were going to swap roles, but like I think
Imagine that alternate universe. Then.
Right, yeah.
He was nearly delivery driver number 2.
Right, yeah. And that, yeah, it's underrated. It's still underrated.
That first movie did catch me off guard in the fact that going into it, I thought it was just going to be like a monster flick, like the Cenobites were going to be a big part of it, but it wasn't, was it? So
No, they're just in the background. I'm glad you appreciated it because I just think it's a smarter film than the others. I don't know. Like I know it as it's like some of it's dated and like even some of the like there's some dubbing on it that's a bit rough.
But, that's all right.
Yeah, but like if you can get past,
it's a much smarter story.
Well, that was because they wanted to pretend that it was set in the States, didn't they?
Yeah.
So some of the English actors, they dubbed into with really ropey American actors, including Frank himself.
Yeah, he's the most obvious.
Yeah,
he's just got someone else's voice. Do you have a towel?
Come to daddy.
Come to daddy.
No, in the first film. In the second film, when the actor returns in hell, he's using his own voice.
Right.
There's real disparity there.
Right. So anyway, to break it down for you, Aria, the main guy the main sort of bad guy in the new one, he goes through all these different conversions of the box.
Yeah.
Meets Leviathan. This all happens in the first sort of 5 minutes. He meets Leviathan and then he asks what you don't really find out, but until later on in the movie. But basically, what he asks for what is it then? Is it sensation? Sensation.
Do you see Leviathan?
Yeah, it's even bigger than it is in the second one. It looks
when he comes out at the end, he asks for power, right? But he asks for sensation initially.
Yeah.
Which is how he got the fucking thing in his thing.
So when you see Leviathan in this one, like the labyrinth appears because he's in like this mansion and the roof opens up. All the labyrinth appears around this mansion, and then the Leviathan just comes out of the sky. And it's fucking enormous, like it's absolutely massive.
It looks like a spaceship,
right? And it gives him this contraption because he asks for a sensation. And it fuses to his body. And basically, it's just a contraption that like runs his nerves through a series of cogs over and over and over again, just to cause him like the worst possible pain you could ever experience. And every time it turns, then stops, and then turns again, it changes nerves, so he can never go numb. So basically, he's living in fucking hell for 6 years. So he has to try and get the he has to go through all the configurations again using innocent people to try and get this thing out of him. And initially, he sort of demands from Pinhead that they take this thing out of him, and Pinhead's like, "Nah, you can't just give back a gift. You can only exchange." So he exchanges sensation for power, and so they take the thing out of him. He heals up, which is a bit like a bit of a callback to when Frank heals in the when he's sort of reformed in the first one. And then he's all happy, and then the Leviathan drops an anchor down on him, goes through him, and then pulls him up and basically turns him into a Cenobite, which is like the ultimate gift from Leviathan. Like pulls his face back and tears his skin off, and it's all done on like this crucifix looking thing, so it's quite Bible looking. It's good. I mean, there's some.
That does sound like a better translation of that idea than.
It is like so. Ben in the second one, something
I don't know. I think
a doctor where like this. A guy gets he sort of goes to hell with Julia because he's super interested, and then he gets trepidatious once he meets the Leviathan because they get right up next to it, and a hatch opens and she just kind of pushes him in, and then like wires go across his face and a thing drills into his head and it takes him down.
I think I prefer the transformation in the second film just because it's so crazy.
It's the line.
It's so over the top.
It's the line that sells it because like he goes down and he comes up and he looks like a Cenobite. Sort of, his face is fucked, and then like this thing drills into his head, and it's basically like a long arm that picks him up by the head and carries him around hell wherever he wants to go, and he's got like shit coming out of his hands, and he like. After he's been through all this pain, he sort of looks up and goes, to think I hesitated. And he's like, he loves this new form. And
I thought you meant, what's her line? No hard feelings, baby. Or something.
Really?
Which I think is what Frank says to her just before he kills her.
In the first one.
No, when that doctor comes back, he just starts making doctor puns the whole time. Like,
that's their first foray into like Freddy Krueger. The doctor has arrived.
He does this really weird thing as well, where like these worms come out of his hands. And then at one point, a finger comes out at the end of the worm, and
it does that.
And I thought, why not just do that with your hand? Why the worm?
He should when he was trying to get her to come to her. He should have done it, and a little dick just comes out the end.
Because you remember that, with the dick finger.
You
won't remember just.
But fuck, it is a bizarre movie. I've been trying to get Ben to watch it for a while, but
I meant to. I don't know why.
Don't worry, Ben. You're not missing much.
You are. It's not the film itself. It's
the ideas. No, I get that because that's how it is with all of the other Hellraiser movies.
Right.
That's how it is in Hellraiser.
There's so many movies that I like, not because the movie's great, because it's got really it's got concepts in it that have a lot of potential that haven't been expanded correctly, but like just seeing them and it helps me think about my own, like it helps me with my work.
Absolutely.
Like not all movies have to just be great movies. They have to have sometimes it can just be full of potential instead of
sometimes it's a gold mine to rip off something bad but had a good concept at its core.
Right,
it was poorly executed,
rather
than something that was executed well that everybody knows.
Exactly, because if it's executed poorly, you think, what would have been better is X, and then you take X, and you can make something out of it.
Right,
I often I often think that about the Highlander franchise.
Yeah.
They're great concept, but the films are absolute dog shit.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah.
They're just ripe for a reinterpretation of those
Right.
ideas.
100%. Me and Ben were thinking like, and I think once we'd said this, this really took the bottom out of the new one for me. I was like, right, okay, so if you're a multi-billion-dollar rich guy and you want to get through the configurations and meet Leviathan, wouldn't you just go to an area in America where there's loads of homeless people, do the box and just stab 6 homeless people and then go home? Like, why did he have to go through this like totally fucking energy expenditure of like tricking people to do the box and bringing them to the mansion? Just kidnap 6 bums and stab them.
He's supposedly in excruciating pain all the time, so he'd be in a hurry.
Yeah. Instead of just like he wouldn't be stabs that one girl in the back with it. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So, he wouldn't be taking his time with this elaborate plot.
Scheme. Yeah.
So overall, did you guys not enjoy the new version? Would you not recommend it?
I would recommend it.
I would recommend it because, like, visually, it's really, really cool. So it's like worth watching just for the visuals. I'd say, but also there's some fun things with the box. Like, there's plenty to criticize, and like I always say, it's not the movie I would have made, but there's cool elements to it, and it looks really good.
Yeah,
and I think the end it kind of makes up for a lot of it, especially with that scene where the guy is made into a Cenobite.
It's a great final scene.
The best scene in the movie, probably.
Yeah. I think I probably was a lot more gracious to it than it probably deserves, just because as a fan of the franchise, I've sat through so many bad Hellraiser films now to get to this point, to like a half decent one, which is flawed, and you guys have highlighted some of the flaws, some of the elements. I mean, there was something that was bugging me about it. I was thinking, well, there's something that's not quite working here, but overall, the tone and the execution and some of the dialogue I quite liked, and I thought it ate Barker's style the best I'd seen. Out of all the films, it was one that's ate Barker's style the best, in that it didn't lapse into that trap of it being over the top and silly, which a lot of the sequels have fallen into.
Let me know what you think of this.
But there are problems with the story for sure.
There's a film called The Night House. Have you seen this?
I haven't.
With Willem Dafoe.
No.
That's The Lighthouse.
That is called The Lighthouse as well.
Yeah. It's The Night House.
Oh, I thought it was The Lighthouse.
No. It came out last year, I think, and it's.
Wait, did you say Night House?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said Lighthouse too.
It's a horror film, and it's a reworking of I forget this director's name now. The guy that made Mandy. It's a reworking of his script for Hellraiser, right?
Oh.
And it's weirdly, it was done by the director of this Hellraiser. And so, like, the main crux of it is, and I can only imagine that this was going to be for this version of Hellraiser, which I think is a fucking great idea. Basically, a woman's husband dies, and she lives in this house on the lake, and she sort of, as she's mourning her husband, she starts to sort of go to the places that he'd been, and sort of she could try sort of reconnect with their relationship. Anyway, she goes across the lake exactly opposite, and deep in the woods she finds a not quite finished, but basically another version of her house, which is almost identical. And she goes in, and it is her house, but everything's flipped. And she keeps having dreams as well that she's outside her own house and she can see herself in the house.
Right.
And then she finds beneath the floorboards a bunch of dead girls, right? All wrapped up. Anyway, the long and short of it is her husband was being pursued by this entity that was whispering in his ear that to kill his wife, right?
Right.
And to get out of it, he found out this incantation that to confuse it, if you built another house, like a mirrored house, and then took women back that looked like his wife and murdered them, then it would sort of satiate and satisfy the demon. Then he could go back home and live out his life without killing the love of his life, right?
Wow.
Anyway, it got too much for him in the end, and he kills himself, right? Because you can't live with the guilt of killing these women. But I'm assuming that was going to be how in the Hellraiser, when it was the Hellraiser version, that was going to be how he tricked the Cenobites, right?
Right. That would have worked.
Him and he builds. How better is that?
That would have been a lot better than a slasher.
Right.
Yeah.
A really cool idea of.
I feel I need to watch The Night House then, because it's interesting that you have 4 Hellraiser movies that started out as non-Pinhead centric general horror movies, and now you've got a non-Pinhead centric general horror movie that started out as a Hellraiser movie.
Sure.
It's kind of done a complete 180. So maybe
Yeah,
I should watch that. And you say that's from the same director as this new Hellraiser?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, I think he did the Ritual as well. It's in the Ritual.
No,
that's you'll really like that. That's the best of his films, I think.
Okay,
I feel like I've seen that one.
It's just about a group of British lads. One of their friends gets killed in a robbery, and then they go on a hike.
You seen it, Aria?
Yeah, it's really good. It's Nordic folklore story based.
Okay. They run into a Nordic god in the woods. It's fantastic, and it's sort of so that you could see why they would pick him for Hellraiser, even though he didn't sort of expand on a similar ground, because that film in particular is like dealing with this creature that's stalking them,
right?
And there's something else going on, but he's also dealing with at the same time he's dealing with the guilt of watching his best friend die because he was there during a robbery and he hid and he didn't help him.
So there's like those spooky elements, right?
Yeah. There's like
here's what it is. Hellraiser is all about coming to grips with who you really are and like grappling with your conscience,
right?
And like that's absent in this latest movie.
Well, there's a fantastic scene because the guy's sort of dealing with, like, he was, as his mate gets killed, he's like hiding behind a shelf in a shop and just listening to him get killed. And I think at one point one of his friends sort of says, "Why didn't you help him?" And now he's fucking dead.
Right.
And so he obviously feels like he's sort of downtrodden and stuff. But there's like a really good scene where the creature in it wants, all it wants is dominion over him, and it's trying to make him bow. And he's watched it kill all of his friends, and it picks him up and throws him on the floor and pushes him to his knees. And then he just keeps getting back up, and it's really, really pissing him off. It's just such a fucking epic scene.
That's cool, dude.
Yeah, it is. It's really good. And he knocks his head when he's fighting it as well. So even though he's running through the woods, there's like they've put like shopping parts of the shop inside the woods, so he's like running past shelves and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a really good film.
It is a really good movie. It's really creepy creature design as well. So
yeah, it's I mean, it's almost fantasy, isn't it? It's pretty much a fantasy, horror fantasy.
Yeah. Well, it's got like
which is perfect for Hellraiser because
a Greek god as the bad guy.
Yeah, I think you'd like it.
Nordic god.
Yeah, it's the child of Loki who's the creature in the Ritual, and just the way they've designed it is creepy, and it also there's these scenes in the forest with like these really tall trees, and he blends in, and then suddenly he'll move, and then you realize he was standing in the background.
Yeah,
That's creepy.
yeah.
And yeah, and then I'm looking at this guy, the director. His name's David Bruckner. He's got quite a lot of horror movies that have done well. Like,
what else has he done?
Lighthouse, Hellraiser, Ritual, VHS. Have you heard that one?
Yeah,
Oh,
I've seen,
VHS.
yeah, I've seen VHS. I watched the VHS 99 the other day. It was shit.
That's also his, yeah.
Is that his as well? Christ. That
Yeah,
was
Okay, I'm looking at this. It
You-
looks pretty cool. It's like some kind of like Wendigo or some kind of cryptid animal.
Yeah,
right?
it's like a big horse thing, but with like
with a
guy
human
on
for a
the front.
head.
Yeah,
with,
yeah.
with antlers and a weird shape. Yeah, that looks good. I could fuck with that. I'll tell you what. Go ahead, Wood.
I was going to say, you mentioned Mandy earlier, Max.
Yeah.
Like it was, how cool would a Hellraiser movie be directed by that guy?
Well, it was going to be him because
Yeah.
he wrote the script for the Hellraiser that became the Night House, and he was going to direct it. But Mandy, like the bikers in Mandy, are basically the Cenobites, right? They're just
Yeah,
like
these
100%.
creatures from hell.
Yeah, and they love
That guy's
pain.
got, because I thought, I mean, this new version, it kind of had like a slightly neutered visual style.
Yeah.
I thought, like the final scene, it was cool when he gets turned into the Cenobite, but it was a little anemic. And maybe if they
Mate,
want to relaunch the franchise and do a sequel to this film, get that guy on board to do the second
Right, they
version.
need the mate. I'm telling you, like as much as I liked the new designs and that, and I thought that it's very clever to use the skin.
Yeah, as
they're
the
missing.
costume.
They need the leather. The fucking whole thing was about how Clive Barker was into gay bondage. They're supposed to be. They're supposed to be like bondage uniforms.
Yeah.
Right, because that's
I know,
what they're
yeah.
into. They're fucking. They love bondage.
Yeah, that was exactly my thing. I was thinking, it's a good idea, but come on, give me the costumes. You know,
Right.
I'm watching a Hellraiser movie here.
Yeah.
And I made the point earlier that I think the movies kind of depart and forget about like that the whole point of the Cenobite torture is that it's sort of supposed to be the ironic culmination of your sex addiction.
Yeah.
So the costumes are supposed to be reminiscent of like kinky sex stuff, right?
Right. Yeah, but this one, it's like they just love pain, right? But in the old one, it's like it is a sexual thing.
It's a sex thing, yeah.
We have such sights to show you.
Exactly.
It's a sexy thing, right?
Right.
He wants to get it. They want to fucking do all sorts of crazy shit to you. But I feel like in this one, they just want to like hack you up and pull your skin off and poke your eyes out. But I feel like the original Pinhead wants to bang you while he's
pulling your eyes out.
There was one scene. There was one scene that I feel they got right in that regard, which was where they have the pin through the trachea of the one girl, and she's like moving it around and like being seductive with it in a way. So that one scene was cool, but for the most part, not. And I didn't like the costume changes.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I think we've hit the nail on the head. Is that this new film is missing the sex?
Yes,
he was forgetting that the sex was a vital element
of
the Hellraiser franchise.
In summary, don't forget the sex.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys have anything else you wanted to say?
Get the guy who directed Mandy to do the sequel. I'm not going to look up his name.
What's his name? Panto Cosmatos or something. I can never remember his fucking name.
Sounds right. Panto Cosmatos.
Let me find out. Let me just find out because it's going to kill me otherwise.
I'll tell you what.
We need to name check this guy because I did enjoy Mandy.
I just looked up
Pantos Cosmatos. You got it.
Panos Cosmatos.
I'll tell you what's interesting about the guy that did The Ritual, and what was the other movie that he made? The guy that made The Ritual?
The Night.
That's Panos.
Yeah, he looks like a Panos if I ever did see one.
He looks great. Right?
Have you seen Beyond the Black Rainbow?
The best directors are crazy-haired, bearded, fat blokes.
Yeah, he's a crazy cunt.
Peter Jackson, right?
Yeah.
Have you
Couple
seen
of-
Beyond the Black Rainbow, Buddha?
No,
Right, that's his only other film.
I've never
And
seen any film.
Well, that's his only other film, and I'm pretty sure the entirety of the film is on YouTube, and you should watch it, and I think you'd love it.
Okay.
I think it's
Filmed in
I think-
Vancouver.
I think it's better than Mandy.
Filmed in
Right.
Vancouver. it
Great.
says. That sounds like fun. I'll tell you what sounds interesting to me about the Night House.
Yeah.
It sounds just like a Jungian shadow projection in it.
Yeah, I mean, there are other elements to it that I've missed out, and I'm not quite sure about the ending, but the main the main meat of the film is super interesting, and
Like
yeah,
he hates his wife,
no, he loves his wife,
but he also hates her, right?
but something's telling him that he needs to.
He has this compulsion to murder her.
Yeah,
That's
So he's-
creepy.
yeah. So he's trying to satiate, like,
It's like the same. It's similar to The Shining, right?
We've
Kind of
all
the
been there.
yeah.
right?
I've got
Exactly.
something whispering into me to kill my wife, and it's me.
It's called marriage.
Yeah, it's my
Yeah.
reflection.
No, but
I'm
that's
only
the
joking,
point,
Ken.
right? That's the point. Is like that's why those kind of stories are so horrifying, right? Because like if you watch The Shining and you're just like, oh, it's a dude trying to kill his family. Oh, look, they stopped him. You're not scared at all. But if you watch The Shining, you're like, holy shit. Like, yeah, I've had these weird thoughts too, and like sometimes I think, then it's a horrifying movie, right?
There's a really interesting meme going around at the moment, and it's like one of them. It's not Judge Judy, but it's one of them Judge Judy programs. Have you seen this? And like, there's a big, they always have the judge and then the security guard next to him as they're like doling out.
Yes.
It's this big black security guard, and like on one of the episodes a few years back, for some reason he gets sort of drawn into the conversation, and one of the guys who's being judged goes like, "Are you married?" And he's like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Fucking hell, well, you don't look happy about it. She's obviously making you miserable," and everyone starts laughing. And then he's sort of laughing, and then the judge goes, "No, he's happily married." And then it cuts to a news report 2 years later, and he's shot his wife, and he's fucking going to jail.
Yeah, exactly. So like you repress these things, you ignore them, you redirect them, right? But if there's a tiny 1% of you that feels this way sometimes, that's gonna latch onto that movie watching experience, and that's gonna make it horrifying for you.
Yeah, you have to accept those parts, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Shining is a great personification of that. It's about a man who slowly loses his mind to evil, and that's the fascinating part about it. It's the journey of a good man becoming evil. But I mean, if you watch the film, I mean, that guy, he hates his family from the start, and he's driving to the Overlook View Hotel, and his wife's talking to him, and the kid's in the back, and he's talking about television. You see, Wendy, he saw it on television. This is a bored, this is a bored husband who just wants to murder his wife, and the Overlook View Hotel.
Yeah, but I don't
gives
know.
him license to do that.
Yeah.
It
brings out the darkness.
Yeah, which is why, but it's relatable darkness,
right?
Which is why that film's so fascinating.
It's a great film. It really
I love it.
Right,
this was a good Halloween episode. We covered a lot of topics.
We did, and we didn't go off topic. How incredible is that?
Yeah, we had a lot to say.
Yeah, no.
So what are we doing next week? We're all caught up on our ideas.
Miracle Man wasn't it?
Oh yes.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Great show.
Are we doing like the Grant Morrison one?
Yes. Well, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Or you're going to do a different.
I'm going to read out the Alan Moore run because I've always wanted to read.
Oh, okay.
But but I'll try and delve into the Grant Morrison.
I'm going to do the Grant Morrison one. I think.
Yeah.
I
It's probably the better run, but as a Moorhead myself, I feel that I should read the Alan Moore run.
I've heard they're
both.
equally as good, just very different.
Oh, wait a minute. I can't do next Saturday.
Sunday morning cartoons.
Now on Sunday.
No.
Now at night.
No, I can't do next weekend at all. Here, well, blend
now on Tuesday. Don't worry about it. We'll sort something out. I'll either host or we'll just reconvene in 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are. I'd prefer it if you did a show without me. To be honest, like that's kind of the whole reason we have the whole gang is so we don't take weeks off, right?
We can miss the subject though because I think.
Yeah, that's your subject, right?
And it'll take us a while to read Miracle Man, anyways.
I tell you what. Then, Buddha and Aria, if you're going to be on next week, watch Beyond Black Rainbow. It's on YouTube.
Perfect.
And then we can talk about
cool.
Because it's
Buddha, you can tell me about how arty and brilliant it is, and Aria, you can tell me about how arty and shit it is.
That's perfect.
Okay.
Because it looks too scary for me, anyways. And then we'll do Miracle Man next.
It's just weird. But see what you think. I'll be interested in weird.
Cool.
Remind me of that name again.
Beyond the Black Rainbow or Beyond
the Black Rainbow. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me make
Beyond the Black Rainbow. Somewhere over the rainbow.
As we've just seen, drugs make your problems go away. So make it the best day possible. Remember, it's drugs that counts. Take one and take a chance.
Saturday morning cartoons, mostly conjecture based on little knowledge.